Well, first of all, as I told you, we have comic strips, small ones. And luckily, there are several comic strip creators that allow you to create easily a comic strip by importing pictures and dialogue. There is this make-believe comics, the Garfield, so that children can create comic strips, not comics, comic strips, using Garfield. And also, we in the lab have created our own standalone. These are online, and also Tundu is also online. One of the few standalone comic strip creators that exist, so that you can download it for free and use it on your PC, is the one that we have created at the University of Piraeus. It's called Comic Strip Creator, and I'm really proud because it has become one of the most popular comic strip creators because it has this unique feature of being standalone. So most of the creators are using it as an online. So if you want to have an activity with students online, so then comic strip creator is not the one that can serve your purpose. But if you don't want students to spend much time on the web, or take it at home and work with that, then comic strip creator is the tool for you. Now think about how you can, apart from making a comic strip and convey a message and write a message, think comics and comic strips as a self-assessment tool, as a quiz tool. So it's really interesting to see, for example, Kabam, which is also free, and you can create a quiz, but in the form of comic. So, for example, Kabam was developed by the United States Department of Health and Human Services, and as you can see on the top right, there is this child who says something, and there is this girl who should reply to this message, and there are three options in the term of bubbles. So the student chooses, and then the story goes on. So it's like role-playing, but in the form of comics, as a quiz in the form of comics. And the same idea exists in concept cartoons, which is more difficult, and this concept cartoons is proprietary. I don't remember how much money it costs, but you can create similar activities like Kabam, which is also very useful tool. Now, going now to comic books. Comic books, as we said, we are talking about infinite canvas. Now the things are not that great as we saw in terms of the technological support, as we saw with comic strips. If you Google, if you make a search in Google about comic strips, you will see several tools. Not that several. Okay. There are plenty of comic strips tools. But if you are looking for authoring tools for comic books, then you have mainly two tools. One is Comic Life from +Q, and the other is Comic Lab, and I think it's wrong, the URL. I will tell you in a moment. Oops, sorry. Let's tell you about Comic Life. Comic Life is it's a tool that has some very nice features. It's also a very popular tool for comic books, but has one limitation, and I'll tell you what it is. But first of all, I'll tell you that it is great, but it's not. It does not give full freedom to the designer, to the student. So the idea is that you have a panel. As you can see here, we have 6 panels, and you import in each panel one image. Any image that you want, either from the gallery or a picture from your life. This is why it's called Comic Life. And then you add various balloons. As you know, balloons have a specific semantics. For example, it's about talking, it's about talking more loudly, and things like that. This is very good because, for example, you can ask the students to take photo of themselves, snapshot of their life, put it, in this way, and then add bubbles in order to start discussing on that. Unfortunately, we don't have this kind of tools online, so this is the main problem. I think a few years ago, one Diamond distributor, comic distributors, tried to make one comic book online, but it didn't succeed. Toon.do, the company who has this nice comic strip creator, also tries to give an online comic book of authoring tool, but not yet. So I think this is the only, so most of the tools are standalone. Now, if you want, however, something more advanced, go to Comic Lab. Now, Comic Lab has been created with the idea of making the student or the author responsible for his or her own comic book. So the interesting thing with Comic Lab is that he has infinite canvas, so he can add as many pages as he wants. He can add clip arts. He can add the text balloon, but which is really impressive is that he can add hyperlinks on the text balloons, but also, as you can see, media. So he can create a truly nice web comic book. I will look for one link so that you can see one of that, just to give you an idea how it is. Now, so this is the different things. Comic Life does not allow you to add plurimedia, video, audio, and also manipulate clip arts, but come on. But Comic Lab allows you to add clip arts right in the text balloon, add hyperlinks, but also insert media and export everything in a sense of how it's called, flipping book. So it's two different tools, very similar, but with a different perspective. I think Comic Lab is cheaper than Comic Life, to be honest, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so let's go now. Is it okay with you? And shall I go into more details of creating an educomics learning scenario? Okay. So let's see a scenario, a typical scenario, how you can do that in classroom. Now, there are phases of an educational scenario. First of all, since you are in a typical classroom, students read the learning resources or see a video, things like that. However, and then you have to, if you want to make students use if you want students to become authors of their comic using a tool like Comic Lab, you have to spend time at the lab with the hands-on experience, not in order to make them aware of the features of the tool, not start writing their scenario and their comic with the tools immediately. It's very important, at least I have seen that in real practice with teachers in several pilot cases, that it's very important for the students not to have any hype about the tool. to, it's very easy for any tool, Comic Lab, Comic Life, any comic strips, to know exactly that they can do everything. And you can learn any tools, students especially can learn any tools in no matter, very, very easily. Now, and Comic Lab, no, you don't have to be online. Now, when you have organize this, so when students know about how the features of the tool, comic authoring tool, and you have have presented your selected topic, then you have to make students understand that they have to plan a scenario and organize the narration of their story. So it's not easy, as I told you, it's not easy for the students, even for adults, to write a story. So please be careful. Do not ask for students to create their stories directly using a tool. First, they have to do that on paper, using a typical storyboard template. I will tell you later in a few moments how we are doing that. Then, when they have a clear idea of the narration of their story, they go to the lab and transform this scenario in comics. And of course, at that moment, they make changes because they might have forgotten something or they want to elaborate on something, which is normal. The last two phases is the evaluation of digital comics. So they have to understand and also discuss with each other in a plenary session if they like this activity, if they found any difficulties, also to discuss about the message and also their own digital stories. And of course, they want to disseminate their comic books, and one way would be School Wiki. This is something that, think of the way that students and children play and use comics. They read something, and then they read the comic book, and then they give it, they pass it one to another friend. So this is the same way, but using digital technology. So instead of giving them in a USB stick, they can do that, of course. They can just put it on the web. Now, as I told you, one very important thing is how you can help the students in writing their own scenario. Now, we are using a typical phase, a typical technique, which is Freytag pyramid, which says that in order to write a story, you have, first of all, the exposition, who are the characters, which is the context. Then, these characters, for these characters, there is this rising action, there is this climax, and then the students should think how this story goes to a solution, so it goes to an end. So this is a typical way of for someone to write and design a plot on a paper.